Namaskara Makla. Today we'll be learning the fourth unit in your English textbook. Everything I need to know I learned in the forest by Vandana Shiva. Okay, a very important lesson, and we are taking in the different parts. So today let us learn about part 1. In this part 1 we'll be learning about the ecological journey of Vandana Shiva. Okay, and how the Chipko movement has given her the made her a environmentalist. Okay, so everything I need to know I learned in the forest. Vandana Shiva says that whatever she learned in the forest, okay, everything she learned, everything in the from the forest. So let us know about Vandana Shiva. Okay, she is Vandana Shiva here, wrote this article for the issue titled What Would Nature Do? ಓಕೆ, ಅವರು ಎನ್ವೈರಮೆಂಟಲಿಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅವರು ಹಲವಾರು ಪುಸ್ತಕಗಳನ್ನ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಒಂದು ಪುಸ್ತಕದಲ್ಲಿ ವಾಟ್ ವುಡ್ ನೇಚರ್ ಡೂ ಅನ್ನುವಂತಹ ಆರ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಬರೆದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಶಿ ಈಸ್ ಆನ್ ಇಂಟರ್ನ್ಯಾಷನಲ್ ರಿನೌಂಡ್ activist for biodiversity and against corporate globalization. So she is very famous, the environmentalist activist for biodiversity, and she is also author of many nature books. And the present what we are going to read, the everything I need to know I learned in the forest. So it is adopted from the essay Forest and Freedom, or ಒಂದು ಎಸೆ ಇದೆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಅಂತೇಳಿ. ಆ ಒಂದು ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಫ್ರೀಡಮ್ ಇಂದ ಈ ಒಂದು ಎಸೆಯನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು, ಈ ಒಂದು ಲೆಸನ್ ಅನ್ನು ತಗೊಂಡಿರೋದು. Okay, in this lesson she learned. So she says that she learned about environmentalism, and also she got the education from the uneducated women against the protection of forest, because most of the uneducated, the women from the Himalayan region, they came forward, they fought against the forest officials not to cut the trees, and she was with them, the Vandana Shiva was with them, and she came to know about the environment and importance of environment. And here when the government officials they came there to cut the trees, okay, and various the women showed their protest, they resisted the not to cut them. The trees and the forest are living things, they said that trees and forest are the living things, and we need to live with them, don't cut. Okay, they'll say. And here later, Vandana Shiva learnt all the major ideas of good life from the forest. So, how the life should be, how the man should live, what are the qualities we have to adopt from the forest, everything she learnt in the forest. And she says that the forest have taught her the value of diversity, freedom, and coexistence. She tells that forest has taught us the values of diversity, freedom, and coexistence. So now let us come to the story here, Vandana Shiva's story. Okay, and here Vandana Shiva's life. The first, let us learn about the Vandana Shiva's life here. And her ecological journey started in the forest of Himalayas. So this is the forest of Himalayas, where you can see the Himalayan mountains and the forest. And her father was a forest conservator and mother was a farmer. ಅವರ ತಂದೆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಟರ್ ಆಗಿದ್ರು, ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ರಕ್ಷಕರಾಗಿದ್ದರು. ಅವರ ತಾಯಿ ರೈತರಾಗಿದ್ದರು. ಆ್ಯಕ್ಚುಲಿ ಇವರು ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನದಿಂದ ವಲಸೆ ಬಂದಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ್ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸೊ ಫ್ರೀಡಮಲ್ಲಿ, ಆಗ ಇವರು ಪಾಕಿಸ್ತಾನ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಈ ಕಡೆ ವಲಸೆ ಬಂದು ಈ ಹಿಮಾಲಯನ್ ರೀಜನಲ್ಲಿ ಸೆಟ್ಲ್ ಆಗ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ ಹಿಮಾಲಯನ್ ರೀಜನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಟರ್ ಆಗಿ ಸೇರ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ, ತಾಯಿ ಫಾರ್ಮರ್ ಆಗಿರ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಟರ್, ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಟರ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ಜೊತೆ, ಅವ್ರ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ಮಗು ಆಗಿದ್ದಾಗ ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ಜೊತೆ ಹಿಮಾಲಯನ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಶಿ ಲರ್ನ್ಡ್ ದ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕೋಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಹೇಗಿರುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಶಿ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ಲರ್ನ್ಡ್ ವೆನ್ ಶಿ ವಾಸ್ ಗೋಯಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ her father. And also Her mother has taught her the songs and poems about the trees, forest, and India's forest civilization. And her mother also was very good. She had taught the songs about the trees, about the forest, India's civilization, everything. So this is about Vandana Shiva's the life. Okay, part of the life. And here, so we'll learn about the Chipko movement. Here, this lesson tells about the Chipko movement. So Chipko movement is a non-violent response to the large-scale deforestation. In the sense, they are cutting the trees and the people are protesting without violence, non-violent. Okay, so without using any arms, without using any weapons. So they are avoiding, they are protesting cutting the trees. So it is called as it is a non-violent response to the large scale deforestation. And here Vandana Shiva's ecology movement that was taking place in the Himalayan region. So in the Himalayan region, she has the taken up. She was a part of this the Chipko movement, and they said that so in the 1970, a peasant woman, a farmer woman from Garhwal Himalaya region. Okay, and she protested against the cutting of trees. Why? Because she said if you go on cutting the trees, the landslides will happen. Okay, logging means cutting the trees, had led to the landslides and flood. You can see the landslides here, ಭೂ ಕುಸಿತ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಭೂಮಿ ಕುಸಿಯುತ್ತೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಫ್ಲಡ್ ಪ್ರವಾಹ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ದ ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ಆಫ್ ವಾಟರ್, ಫಾಡರ್ ಫಾರ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫ್ಯೂಯಲ್. ಸೊ ಫಾಡರ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಹಸುಗಳಿಗೆ, ದನಗಳಿಗೆ, ಸೊ ಹುಲ್ಲು. ಸೊ ನಮಗೆ ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ವಾಟರ್ಗೆ ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ದನ ಹಸುಗಳಿಗೆ ಮೇವು ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಫ್ಯೂಯಲ್ ಅವರ ಸೌದೆ ಒಲೆ ಏನಿರುತ್ತೆ ಆ ಒಲೆಗೂ ಸಹ ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ದೇ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟೆಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಟು ಕಟ್ ದ ಟ್ರೀಸ್. ನೀವು ಏನಾದರೂ ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ಲೈಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫ್ಲಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ವಾಟರ್ ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫಾಡರ್ ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಫ್ಯೂಯಲ್ ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಸೊ ಇಫ್ ದೇ cut the trees, then woman has to walk a long distance to collect water and firewood. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಆ ಹೆಣ್ಣುಮಕ್ಕಳೇ ಮನೆಯ ಜವಾಬ್ದಾರಿಯನ್ನು ತಗೊಳ್ಳೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆ ನೀರು ಮತ್ತು ಫೈರ್ವುಡನ್ನು ಕಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬ ದೂರ ನಡೆದು ಹೋಗಬೇಕಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ವುಮೆನ್ ನ್ಯೂ ದ ರಿಯಲ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಆಫ್ ದ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್. ಓಕೆ, ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ದು ರಿಯಲ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಬಟ್ ಜಸ್ಟ್ ನಾಟ್ ಆನ್ ದ ಟಿಂಬರ್ ಫ್ರಮ್ ದ ಡೆಡ್ ಟ್ರೀ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಬಿದ್ದಿರೋಂಥ ಸೌದೆ, ಸತ್ತೋಗಿರೋ ಮರದಿಂದ ಸೌದೆ ತರೋದಷ್ಟೇ ಅಲ್ಲ, ಆ ಒಂದು ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಇದ್ದರೆ, ಮರ ಗಿಡಗಳಿದ್ದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಪ್ರಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ಸ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಹರಿಯೋ ನದಿಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಜಲಪಾತಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಸ್ಪ್ರಿಂಗ್ಸ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಜಲಪಾತಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ ಹರಿಯೋ ನದಿಗಳಿರುತ್ತೆ, ಮತ್ತು ಫುಡ್ ಫಾರ್ ದೇರ್ ಕ್ಯಾಟಲ್, ಅವರ ದನ ಹಸುಗಳಿಗೆ ಒಂದು ಫುಡ್ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ, ಹುಲ್ಲು ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ. ಫ್ಯೂಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ದೇರ್ ಹರ್ತ್, ಅವರ ಸೌದೆ, ಹರ್ತ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಸೌದೆ ಒಲೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಆ ಸೌದೆ ಒಲೆಗೆ ಸೌದೆಯೂ ಸಹ ಸಿಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ವುಮೆನ್ ಡಿಕ್ಲೇರ್ಡ್ ದಟ್ ದೇ ವುಡ್ ಹಗ್ ದ ಟ್ರೀಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಲಾಗರ್ಸ್ ವುಡ್ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಟು ಕಿಲ್ ದೆಮ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಕಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ದ ಟ್ರೀಸ್. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ವುಮೆನ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡು, ಆ ಒಂದು ಹಳ್ಳಿಯ ಜನ ಎಲ್ಲ, ಹೆಣ್ಮಕ್ಳೆಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿಕೊಂಡು ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಲೆಟಸ್ ಹಗ್ ದ ಟ್ರೀಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಆ ಟ್ರೀಸ್ನ ಅಪ್ಪಿಕೊಳ್ಳೋಣ, ಟ್ರೀಸ್ನ ನಾವು ಕವರ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ. ಓಕೆ, ಲಾಗರ್ಸ್ ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ಟ್ರೀ ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಬಂದರೆ ಅವ್ರು ಫಸ್ಟ್ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಸಾಯಿಸಲಿ. ಸೊ ಲೆಟ್ ದೆಮ್ ಕಿಲ್ ಅಸ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ಕಿಲ್ಲಿಂಗ್ ದ ಟ್ರೀಸ್ನ ಸಾಯಿಸೋಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಮುಂಚೆ ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಸಾಯಿಸಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಸೊ ನೀವು ಪ್ರವಾಹ ಬಂದರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನಗಳಿಗೆ ಹಾನಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ, ಲ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ಲೈಡಿಂದ ಎಷ್ಟು ಕಷ್ಟ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅನ್ನೋದು ನಾವು ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು, ಟಿ ವಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸಾಮಾನ್ಯವಾಗಿ ನೋಡ್ತಿರ್ತೀವಿ. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಈ ಜಲಪಾತಗಳು ಇರಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಈ ಜಲಜೀವನ ಇರಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಒಂದು ಉತ್ತಮ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ she'll say that padayatras, by walking pilgrimages. Vandana Shiva, whenever she came for the vacations, she joined Padayatras for the Chipko movement. Okay, when she was young, she was going with the father to swim in the stream. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅವ್ರ ತಂದೆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಕನ್ಸರ್ವೇಟರ್ ಆಗಿರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಚಿಕ್ಕ ವಯಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಅವಳು ಹಿಮಾಲಯನ್ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ಗೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ಸಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಈಜಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ಲು. But after later in 1973, she visited her favorite forest to swim in her favorite stream before leaving for Canada to do her PhD. ಅವಳು ಪಿ ಎಚ್ ಡಿಯನ್ನು ಕೆನಡಾ ದೇಶಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾಳೆ. ಓಕೆನ ಮುಂಚೆ 1973ಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವಳ ಇಷ್ಟವಾದ ಒಂದು ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ಸ್ವಿಮ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಂತ ಹೋಗ್ತಾಳೆ. ಬಟ್ ವೆನ್ ಶಿ ವೆಂಟ್ ದೆ, ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ಸ್ ವೇರ್ ರೆಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಟು ಎ ಟ್ರಿಕಲ್. ಅರ್ಲಿಯರ್ ದ ಸ್ಟ್ರೀಮ್ಸ್ ವೇರ್ the flowing whether normally, and now all of the water has reduced to a trickle, to a small stream. And after she became a volunteer for the Chipko movement, every vacation she used to come here. Okay, and she was the joining as a volunteer, and she has done padayatras, okay, for to give to spread the message of Chipko, and also documenting the deforestation, means affecting the effects of deforestation. She was creating awareness among the public. She was creating awareness among the public about the deforestation, about the cutting the trees, and also she was spreading the message of Chipko, the importance, the significance of Chipko movement. Okay, once what happened in the Himalayan village of Advani in 1977, the village woman, the name Bachini Devi. So in the Himalayan village Advani in the year 1977, a woman was there, her name was Bachini Devi, and she protested against her own husband. She resisted her own husband because the husband has got the contract of cutting the trees, and she protested against her own husband. So in the picture you can see the Chipko movement, the Padayatras of Chipko movement here. Okay, so they've asked Chipko Zindabad, Zindabad, they are doing Padayatras here, and this is the village of Advani where the Bachini Devi has the created the resistance movement. And here the villagers of Advani, many women, especially the women people, when they wanted to protest, when the officials came there to cut the forest, and these women held a lighted lanterns in the daylight. Okay, in the daylight itself they lighted the lanterns ಅಂದರೆ ಲಾಟೀನುಗಳನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅಷ್ಟು ದೊಡ್ಡ ಸೂರ್ಯನ ಬೆಳಕಿನಲ್ಲಿ ದಿನದಲ್ಲಿ. ಸೊ ಆ ದಿನಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಹೊತ್ತು ಯಾವಾಗ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಅಫಿಷಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ಬಂದು ಮರಗಳನ್ನು ಕಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಆ ಬೆಳಗಿನ ಹೊತ್ತಲ್ಲೇ ಅವರು ಲೈಟೆಡ್ ಲ್ಯಾಟ್ರನ್ಸನ್ನು ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಲಾಟಿನ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡು ಪ್ರೊಟೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಯಿದ್ರು. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದೇ ಟೋಲ್ಡ್ ದ ಅಫಿಷಿಯಲ್ಸ್ ದಟ್ ದ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ they told the officials they have come there to teach the forestry. And the officials, they scolded them and called them foolish because they said the forest gives us the so many economy, because the forest produce the profit, resin and timber. So here you can see in the year 1974 how the women people are hugging the trees, where so you can see the people in the 1974. Okay, the Chipko movement took place here in this, and how the women are hugging the trees, and here it is a protest. Okay, protest against the officials by using the lighted lanterns. You can see the posters about the forest, about the Chipko and everything. And here, so based on that, so when she was doing Padayatras, Vandana Shiva was doing Padayatras, she learned about the various things. And every time the farmers, whatever they produce in their farm, and they were not getting the sufficient amount of profit. And she learned about the biodiversity and biodiversity based the living economies. And when she was doing Padayatra, she was not only creating awareness about Chipko, she was not creating awareness about deforestation, she also checked the forms of the farmers, and she has written a book, okay, Monocultures of the Mind. And in that book she wrote about the failures of the farmers, why they are not understanding biodiversity. If they understand biodiversity based cultivation, they increase their profit, okay. And she learnt about biodiversity the in the from the Himalayan forest, and she started protecting biodiversity in her farm. And she also started saving seeds from the farmers. Okay, wherever she went, the good quality seeds she collected from the farmer fields, and she started farming. Okay, she started her own farm, and she wanted to demonstrate and to give training for the farmers how to grow the better crops, how the better crops can be grown, how we can improve our profit. And she started to give the demonstration training. She started her own farm, Navadanya farm, in the year 1994 in the Doon Valley of the Himalayan region, Uttarakhand province. And there she has grown 630 varieties of rice, 150 varieties of wheat, and hundreds of other varieties of other species. Okay, and by this she has given the training for the farmers, she has demonstrated, she has grown in her farm, and she demonstrated. By this we can see the profit. And they practiced and promoted biodiversity intensive farming, which produce more food and nutrition per acre. So if they use biodiversity intensive farming, then they can increase their food ಪರ್ ಎಕರ್. ಒಂದು ಎಕರೆಗೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಬೆಳೀತಾ ಇದ್ರು ಅದಕ್ಕಿಂತ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಬೆಳಿಬೋದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಈ ವಂದನಾ ಶಿವ ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ಅವರ ನವಧಾನ್ಯ ಫಾರ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ. Okay, the conservation of biodiversity is the answer to the food and nutrition crisis. She says that so ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿಯನ್ನು ಕನ್ಸರ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಬಯೋಡೈವರ್ಸಿಟಿಯನ್ನು ಬೆಳೆಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದರೆ ಅದೇ ನಮ್ಮ ಫುಡ್ ಮತ್ತು ನ್ಯೂಟ್ರಿಷನ್ ಕ್ರೈಸಿಸ್, ಆಹಾರಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಅಭಾವ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಸ್ಕೇಸಿಟಿ ವಿಲ್ ನಾಟ್ ಬಿ ದೇರ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಆಮೇಲೆ 1987 ಶಿ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟೆಡ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್. ನವೇಡೇಸ್ ಆರ್ಗ್ಯಾನಿಕ್ ಫಾರ್ಮಿಂಗ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ಅ ವೈಬ್. Okay, now in 1987 only she started organic farming, and she has set up more than 100 community seed banks across India. ಸೊ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಸೀಡ್ಸನ್ನು ರೈತರಿಂದ ಇಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಆ ಒಳ್ಳೆ ಕ್ವಾಲಿಟಿ ಬೀಜಗಳನ್ನು ಸೀಡ್ಸನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಸೀಡ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಅಂತ ಓಪನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾಳೆ ಅಕ್ರಾಸ್ ಇಂಡಿಯಾದಾದ್ಯಂತ, ದೇಶದಾದ್ಯಂತ ಸುಮಾರು 100 ದ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕನ್ನು ಶುರು ಮಾಡ್ತಾಳೆ, ವೇರ್ ದೇ ವೆರ್ selling the good quality seeds. And here they have saved more than 3,000 varieties of rice. So can you imagine 3,000? Hardly we know about 5 to 6 rice varieties, where she has saved more than 3,000 rice varieties and helped the farmers to make transition from fossil fuel and chemical based monocultures. So they were using the chemicals to grow their crops. Monoculture, the single crop they were growing. So that is called as the monoculture. So she said that, so to give up chemical based monoculture to biodiverse ecological system. So she said to practice the biodiverse ecological system nourishment by the sun and soil. Whatever we are getting in the nature, by using the nature and by using the biodiversity farming, we can grow more food per acre. And she also said that the biodiversity has been Vandana Shiva's teacher. She says that biodiversity is my teacher, and which taught her abundance, the freedom, cooperation, and mutual giving. So here you can see the one Navadanya form. how the Vandana Shiva is growing the Navadanya form, and she has written chemical free zone. Okay, chemical free zone, and she has grown the 630 varieties of rice and wheat and 100 other species. The seed banks she has started across India, and she is giving training and the demonstration for the farmers to grow better crop. Okay,